What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NBA podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Brett back on the show. Brett, good to have you on.
Oh yeah, man, glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
And we got Dustin on the show. What's up, Dustin? Good to have you back on.
What's up, man? It's great to be here.
Yeah. We haven't really done an NBA podcast episode for these playoffs yet. So, figure let's talk NBA playoffs, break it down. A lot going on. The Lakers down 3-2 after last night. When Anthony Davis wasn't going to make it, you knew that was going to be tough for the Lakers. He tried to play through the groin injury, couldn't play. I don't know. I don't think that. Were you surprised, Dustin, that Anthony Davis didn't go? When we saw he got hurt game 4 and missed the second half, I think most of us thought Anthony Davis would play through the pain and be able to go. Were you surprised when he couldn't play in game 5?
Honestly, I kind of expected him to sit out for the simple fact that groin injuries, man, if you see the history on those things, if they get worse, they can really do some damage.
Yeah, so maybe he's thinking about the second round and later, and if they can get through this. This series was so close to being over. Like, the Lakers were up big in game 4. It looked like they were going to go up 3-1 and then have a chance to close it out in 5. But Anthony Davis gets hurt, can't finish the second half. The Suns even the series. And then game 5, they just blow them out. Brett, what did you think? I didn't expect a blowout in game 5, did you?
No, that was surprising. That I haven't expected a blowout at all, really, from anything, and especially in that series. That was, what was it was like 60-32 at halftime or something like that.
Yeah.
And that, it's one thing to win by 30. It's another thing to be up by 30 at halftime. So there's some things missing there. Obviously, Davis was good, not going, but it looks like they're just not connected. They don't have the chemistry. There's something that's just they're stagnant all around. As a team, that's what it looks like. The Lakers right now. I would honestly feel comfortable saying that they're gonna, Suns in 6 here.
Well, are you surprised they're stagnant? So LeBron James is the point guard, right? He makes everything go. He sets up the offense, and he's also a major threat to score and get buckets. In my opinion, going into game 5 last night, no Anthony Davis, I said, well, LeBron needs to drop 40, like a 40-point triple-double, and get the win. I don't care if Anthony Davis is playing. You're the best player on the court. Go get it done. Is that partly on LeBron that the offense is so stagnant?
Or
is it just young players not being able to hit shots?
I think it's just a mix of many things. You got.
Do you criticize LeBron for that?
No, not necessarily. Because he's been. What else do you want him to do? What else does he have to prove? You still have to have talent around you that's gonna. What did Schroeder? He had 0 points, right?
Yeah, Schroeder didn't bring much.
He didn't have any help. When you have to step up, become the second option when Anthony Davis goes down, and you perform the way that you did. You can't expect LeBron to do literally everything like he did with that Cavs team, a while back. It's not, he's aged, obviously. Not saying that that's making a difference as far as his ability to play the game, but that injury that he took could be playing a little bit of a toll too, throughout that he had earlier in the season, coming down the stretch. And they've rattled. Drummond doesn't seem like he's fitting necessarily. all that well. I've seen a lot of things from Laker fans that are just not happy with him and his performance. I don't know if it's something that they feel slows their offense down or whatnot, but they just don't look, you know, from last year to this year. I don't know. I'm not sure we fell apart.
So, what do you think, Dustin? I mean, obviously LeBron's teammates aren't stepping up in a crazy way, but did we expect them to? Is Kyle Kuzma supposed to be playing better, or do you expect more out of LeBron? I mean, when Anthony Davis goes down, who's the next option? Who's the next guy to step up? What do you think?
Okay, so this is how I see it. Okay, I agree with Bret to a certain circumstance. Okay, LeBron James is quote unquote the best player in the world, right? So what you do is you take over that game no matter what. Forget what your teammates got to do. It's your time. You take over. You're the man.
Yeah.
Why isn't he been doing that the whole time though? Then, if you said that, we always in sports we always talk about that next man up.
Because Anthony Davis has been playing. That's why he hasn't done it the whole time. Anthony Davis is obviously, the team runs through him, but LeBron is the man who should have stepped up. And I mean, honestly, from the start, he looked lazy, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I think he came in playing his game. LeBron's not trying to change up his game for anybody. He is who he is at this point. He plays the point guard role, the facilitator, and gets his buckets when he wants to and when he feels like it. But there's times when LeBron makes it look so easy to score and get his buckets, especially in today's NBA, and he's the biggest, strongest dude out there. But what do you think on this? If I'm the Lakers and Anthony Davis is out, I say to LeBron, screw the facilitator game for tonight. I know that's your game. Screw that for tonight. I want you to go special, throwback LeBron. I want you to shoot the ball 40 times tonight. You're the best player. I live and die with your shot. That's what I want. Screw, Wesley Matthews in the corner. Screw Kyle Kuzma. Don't feed Alex Caruso. I want LeBron to shoot it 40-plus times, and I win. If I lose that way, I'm cool with it. Would you rather see LeBron go into aggressive mode like that or trust his teammates and be the facilitator, the guy that runs the offense?
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I feel like he shouldn't have to. We're talking about the fucking Lakers, the NBA, the greatest historical team franchise, in the National Basketball Association as far as history, everything. You are playing for this city, and you can't, step up. Yes, at the same time, if LeBron has to do that, then he has to do that. And I feel like maybe at that point, then it might come back on coaching and whatnot a little bit. Like you said, you want him to be doing that. If you feel like that's your best way to win and you don't win that way and you're okay with it, which I agree. But then I feel like that might fall back a little bit on the coaching staff, like understanding the situation like you just explained it. This is the scenario. Don't be doing this, facilitating and whatnot for tonight and go about it that way. But I feel like he shouldn't have to in the NBA, even though he's LeBron James, he still has other professional athletes around there, around him on his team. So, 4 other guys out there who are the best at what they do, and somebody has to step up. And, when not just before AD, but even more so now. And I don't think they, I just don't think that they have that. There's nobody that has that ability, and LeBron at that point, like you said, should have just pretty much taken over the reins for that entire game because, either you're gonna struggle like they did and go down 3-2, or you're gonna give yourself a shot and you're gonna be happy with the circumstances if you lose, knowing that you had to change the game for what it was.
Yeah. This is my mentality. I think I would say. I mean, you had some good points in that. I think LeBron didn't play well himself either, though. In the first half, he was struggling, and the game was almost pretty much over at halftime. Like you said, Dustin, it was like 60-32, and LeBron wasn't shooting a lot, and he was shooting like 30%. He got most of his points, I believe, in the second half, and made his stat line look better with 24 points, 9 of 19 shooting. But I just think it was a multitude of things. I mean, it's tough when you lose your second best player, or maybe your best player, in Anthony Davis, to win on the road against Phoenix. Chris Paul's seems to be playing better despite that shoulder injury. But, Dennis Schroeder, 0 for 9, 0 points. That's a big thing. That's big. Drummond didn't do a lot. Drummond's been struggling. DeAndre Ayton's been outplaying Drummond, I feel like, the entire series.
Agreed.
And then Schroeder's supposed to be like a scoring guard, the replacement for Rondo. He's supposed to be more of a scoring guard. To go 0 for 9 in such a big game, that's huge. But, Dustin, what do you think? I mean, I feel like the Lakers, a lot of people, including LeBron this offseason, said the Lakers got better. They won the championship last year, and they got better. The whole time I was saying they got worse. They got rid of JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and Rajon Rondo, 3 of their best defensive pieces. Schroeder's not the defender that Rondo is. Rondo's also a great facilitator. I don't think Schroeder's the facilitator that Rondo is. Then you lose your 2 rim protectors, and then that's why they had to go get Drummond late in the season because they didn't have a rim protector. Marc Gasol's certainly not it anymore. I feel like it's just a flawed roster. So I kind of, even going into these playoffs, I felt like the Lakers weren't going to repeat. And being a 7 seed going against the Suns, it was always a tough matchup. The Chris Paul injury helped. But what do you think, Dustin? Why do you think the Lakers are having such a tough time with this series?
I mean, it's not – you can't completely put everything on LeBron, and I'm going to say that now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, anyways, it's – in my opinion, it's a lot of the lineup, too. I mean, Montrezl Harrell wasn't getting very much minutes, and he was playing fairly well. You had Marc Gasol not getting very many minutes, and he was playing fairly well.
Yeah.
It's just, and like I said, Anthony Davis is their best player, and I think him not playing, they came into the game down, and but I say LeBron needs to get that locker room, needs to go in the locker room and tell them this is time, or it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and my biggest thing, so this is my biggest criticism of LeBron, is not the way that, like, his numbers. It's not his numbers. The optics of that game were bad. Game 4 and Game 5, there's clips you can pull up on YouTube, wherever, of LeBron not running back on defense after a missed shot. It's like he'd get frustrated, and then it was his body language to show his teammates and people that he's upset with how they're playing. He doesn't run back on defense, and then it's 5-on-4, and it's an easy bucket for the Suns. And I've seen a couple of video clips of that in these playoffs against Phoenix, and it's just bad optics. On top of LeBron getting up and leaving the bench and going into the locker room with like 6 minutes left in the game, that's bad optics. This is stuff that we criticized LeBron for when he was younger. And now that he's older, he should know better. Wouldn't you agree that he should know better, that that's not how a professional should act, especially in the playoffs? I think the teammates running back on defense and seeing LeBron not trying on defense, that wears on them. They're like, well, in most of the time in basketball, when your star player should lead by example and the role players follow. So if you see a star player not hustling, not getting back on defense, or leaving early, I think it puts a bad taste in your mouth if you're a role player. And that might wear on some teammates. What do you think, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, you guys both make good points here. I'm gonna go back to what Dustin was saying as far as like with Montrezl Harrell. Why has he not gotten more minutes? It goes back to coaching.
Yeah.
You know, Gasol Horton played 16 minutes yesterday, had 11 rebounds and 11 points. Caldwell Pope and Schroeder and Morris had a combined. Those are three of their starters. 4 points between them. Shot a combined 1 for 12. You know, I'm looking here now. They only had 14 assists. The Lakers did, and the Suns more than doubled them at 29. LeBron had 7 of those. So, in 24 of their 85 points, he like I said, what else do you want him to do? But at the same time, like you just said, Alex, you have to lead by example, and that's where the chemistry thing comes into play. When you see that, the charisma it's demoralizing as people who are supposed to be your working components at being around your superstar, especially LeBron James. You see him doing that, you're not going to want to necessarily go as hard. You don't necessarily want to be as aggressive, as determined, as competitive, because it just takes that morale out. And it's definitely impacted them. And, I feel that it's not going to be pretty in Game 6 again.
So you think Phoenix ends it in Game 6? I mean, this is going to be back in LA, right? I mean, I don't know. See, what I told Dustin, me and Dustin were talking about this before we were recording, and I said the NBA doesn't want the Lakers to go out in the first round. It's good for the NBA for ratings, for fan interest, all that, for the Lakers to get past the first round. So if they go back to Staples Center, I think Game 6 and Game 7, watch the officiating, because I think there's going to be – I'm not saying it's a rigged game, but the officiating is going to go slightly LA's way, because they want not only a long series, but ideally they'd rather have the Lakers in the second round. So it's going to be tough for Phoenix to close this series out. I know they have a 3-2 lead, but I fully expect it to go 7 games, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers still won this series. Now, Brett, I know you seem to be siding with Phoenix. Do you think it could be over in 6?
I mean, just those numbers that I just laid off there with those starters and what they've been providing they've been consistent with playing like shit.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to continue that. And, if they go into this next game, the way that, like you said, LeBron left the bench with 5-6 minutes left, that's how you carry yourself into your next game. And no matter what what was said in the locker room after that, whether they went back to whoever's house and talked about the shit, whatever, but it's still the fact that you saw that. And like you said, there's several clips. If they were down 5 and that layup was missed and they came back and the Lakers were playing 4-on-5 because LeBron was just standing in the paint on the other end of the court. Like there's 2 minutes left in the game, and then they hit a 3. Now they're up 8, and yeah, it's just very tough for me to see what's happened and really confidently say that I believe that the Lakers have any chance. Now, if AD comes back and plays, it's a different story. But
yeah.
If not, I just, like you said, this team is just, they have great pieces. Just they aren't a puzzle together, if that makes sense.
And that's, I don't know. What do you think, Dustin? How do you think that all goes? I mean, I don't know. What do you think? What's your take on this? Do you think it goes 7? Do you think the Suns win the series? What do you think?
I do think it goes 7 because I just don't see the Lakers losing at the Staples Center.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis plays that game too. I think he'll be back for Game 6, right?
Yeah, and I also think, LeBron's going to perform better with Anthony Davis on the court, and that's just a proven fact by numbers, so.
How much better, though? What do we expect from LeBron in a Game 6 must-win? Because he's averaging, he's averaging, 22 points a game, nothing crazy, and about like I don't know, 7, 8 rebounds and assists. I mean, what LeBron is who he is at this point, kind of, right?
But you got to do more than that. I mean, you're the best player in the world, so they say. You have to at least average 25 to 27.
Bro,
I mean,
did you hear the stats I just named off? Three of their starters scored a
Well,
combined 4 points. LeBron
isn't
had
that
7 of their 14 assists. That's
isn't that
ridiculous to
even
think that you
more?
have to do more. Because there's 4 other guys on the court that combined did not play up to what LeBron has played like. Like, I get it, yeah. You can only do so much though. He scored a third of their points yesterday, or almost a third of their points, had half of their assists, and had a fifth of their rebounds. Where is the rest of the team?
Well,
they
I
gave up.
agree, but should we expect more from LeBron? No, you're saying no?
I mean, no, I'm not saying that that he can't play better. He obviously, like we said, he's given up at the end of games, walking off on the court on his teammates. Yes, you have to lead by example, like you said, and the only way to lead by example on the court is to lead by example off the court, and he hasn't been doing that.
Well,
Like, in
let
the
me
sense of
let
being
me
a
ask
leader.
let me ask it this way. Let's say, I mean, if you're the coach, and do you believe that LeBron is capable? Keyword capable. Is LeBron capable to go out there in Game 6 at home, whether Anthony Davis plays or not, and put up 40 points?
Yeah, but you're still going to lose
Absolutely.
by 15.
Huh?
But you're still going to get beat by 15 if nobody else is doing anything. You put his totals from yesterday to 40 points. They're still getting beat by 20. So, he can only make up for so much lack elsewhere. Like, yeah, you can expect him to come out and score 40, but when the rest of the team puts up 50,
Well,
what
this
are you
is what
supposed to
I'm
do?
saying, though. What I'm saying is that for me, I don't expect a lot from Dennis Schroeder. I don't expect a lot from Kyle Kuzma, from Montrezl Harrell, and those guys. LeBron is the best guy. LeBron and Anthony Davis. So, do we expect a bounce back game from the role players, or a better game from the stars? And if let's say LeBron scores 40, 40-point triple double. I know that's a lot to ask. So let's just say he scores 40. Can you live with that? Like if LeBron scores 40 and you lose by 20, can you live with that and be like, well, they're the better team. They beat us. And we shot all the bullets out of our gun. We tried, and we're not good enough. Or does LeBron continue to play who he is, 25 points and his numbers, and you lose by 30? Do you still feel like you gave your best effort to win?
I think either way you put it, you're you're
Is
saying
Phoenix
that
just the better team?
yeah, absolutely, they are, because Phoenix doesn't have their their starters. Schroeder, Caldwell Pope, Drummond, and Morris had 11 points combined. Like, those were the starters.
Yeah.
11 points from your starters besides
Schroeder's
LeBron.
Schroeder's the only guy other than LeBron or Anthony Davis averaging double digit points
Like,
in this
yeah, and
series.
it's hard to do that, and I don't know if, like, Phoenix, they're just, I feel like they're just all around, better in many ways. Bridges puts up points. Ayton, he's out playing Drummond. Crowder makes a presence out there. Chris Paul is amps up any team that he goes to. They just put out the statistics about every team that he's went to has their winning percentage has gone up from year to year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got Booker, and when you got those guys going up against Caldwell Pope, who shot one field goal, your starting shooting guard shoots the ball one time. Come on, your point guard's 0 for 9, and with 4 assists, LeBron had more assists than your point guard. Like I get it. He does take care of the ball a lot more than most power forwards do or small forwards do, but you still gotta expect those. Like I said, these are NBA players. You know, the rest. It's just hard for me to think that you could ask much more from LeBron. You know, by what I'm seeing, he would have to score. You're asking him to score 70 points a game.
Well,
and that's the only way that they're going to win. That's just not. It's just. I don't know.
Let me phrase it like this, and so I want to, and then I'll send it to Dustin, and then we'll get your response. Dustin, what do you think? So I know LeBron plays his way. Like, he's a primary ball handler. He makes the offense go. Is there any thought to putting Dennis Schroeder at point guard and having him be the ball handler? And I get, you can probably, I don't know, but what do you think? I mean, to me, I think LeBron is too old to be playing the point guard, ball handler, ball control guy running the offense. If I was the Lakers, I would put, because LeBron's big, right? He's got a size mismatch on most people that defend him. I mean, Jay Crowder obviously can't defend him. We saw that in Game 3. So I would put LeBron in the paint. I would put LeBron in the post and just attack the rim, do his little fadeaways, pass out of the post, and attack the rim, go to the free throw line like all night. I would just beat him in the paint. Is that logical? What do you think, Dustin?
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to be the biggest player on the floor, in almost every series. And I'm not talking about height-wise, but I'm talking about, muscle,
strength,
athleticism.
Yeah, and he can pass out of it. I mean,
that is LeBron's strength. He's not a shooter.
He thinks he is.
He's not just going to come up and shoot a three in your face.
Well, he likes to. Steph Curry range. We've seen that. I don't know. What do you think, Brett? Would you rather see LeBron in the paint or run point?
In the paint.
What do you think, Brett?
I think it sounds like you should be coaching the Lakers because they don't have coaching right now. I feel like that's a big rule too.
But Laker fans were applauding Frank Vogel. They said everything he did in the finals and the finals run last year was perfect. Maybe Vogel's getting exposed this series. Is that what it is, you think?
He had better players last year.
That too, I agree with that.
They were healthy too. LeBron didn't get hurt in the season. AD was there.
Something that doesn't get talked about is that break due to COVID, that big break between the end of the season and the bubble, so that LeBron and the Lakers were healthy and fresh for that championship run. Maybe that had a big part in it because the Lakers do seem worn down, beat up, and not a lot of team chemistry right now. And like Dustin said, maybe they were just better last year.
Yeah, and it's Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
And the 7th seed, it's tough to win from the 7th seed. Phoenix is the 2 seed for a reason. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, the key to the Lakers last year compared to this year was 100% losing Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
He's a coach, a facilitator, and a leader. And what better guy to have run your point guard even now? If they had Rondo, this is a whole different series.
Yeah, and when Schroeder goes 0 for 9 in a big game, that only puts more of a glaring hole on Rondo. And what Rondo doesn't get seen in the box score. He, like you said, he's a coach on the floor. He's like on both sides of the ball. When he was a Bull for only that 1 year, he was great for us. Do you agree, Brett? Do you think Rondo's as good as we're saying right now? Is that a big gap between Rondo and Dennis Schroeder?
Yes and no. I think yes. He, as far as being a facilitator, he's a veteran. He's
seen it all.
What he was for the Lakers last year is what Chris Paul is for the Suns this year.
Exactly. That's a key point right there.
And he, that's what's getting it done. Schroeder is a great player. He's a menace defensively, and he, obviously can facilitate the game, but when he's going 0 for 9 in game 4, he shot 3 for 13.
Yeah.
And they lost by 8, and also, Chris Paul was 7 of 15 with 9 assists in that game, and Schroeder was 3 of 13 with 3 assists in that game that they lost game 4. So it is a big, big difference. Rondo may not have put up the numbers that Paul did, or that Paul does at times, but he does he can see the floor. He's a floor general, a captain, and he's going to understand scenarios that only a point guard can, and LeBron's not a point guard. So that's a problem with him taking the ball off the floor at times is, you don't have those eyes. I'm not saying that he's obviously one of arguably the greatest player, but he's not a point guard. And there's a reason that you have certain people play certain positions. So that is another thing. They don't have that because Rondo took a lot of that, from him last year. Now LeBron's had to fill in for that role a little bit more, and it's taken away from their ability to open up the floor as much because
that's something that I kind of thought of too. Is like, who's the Lakers facilitator? Who gets them all? I understand LeBron led the league in assists in 2020, but they had Rondo too. Now this year they really don't. Schroeder's not your facilitator, not your run the offense point guard. So it puts so much more on LeBron. I just think it's a flawed roster this year. So what do we think? Does Phoenix end this thing in 6? Does Phoenix win it in 7 at home? Or do the Lakers find a way to win this series? What do you think, Brett?
I think if AD plays, I think they have a shot to win, the next 2 games. If he doesn't play this game 6, it's a wrap.
Moving it over in 6.
I think LA Times is going to be depressed when they put out their newspaper the next morning.
What do you think, Dustin?
I am going to 100% agree with Brett. This all comes down to Anthony Davis playing.
Yep.
The Lakers are a 10 times better team when Anthony Davis is on the floor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I said it last year. I said the reason Anthony Davis was the best player, and Anthony Davis has been the best player on that Lakers team since he got there, in my opinion. I think he's passed LeBron. His impact on the game is huge. His length, his ability to step out and hit the long 2 or the 3. He's a rim protector because of that length. He's an underrated passer. He's, he can do it all. And the thing that I thought was key in their run in the bubble last year to the championship was, Anthony Davis was like damn near unstoppable. And if you fouled him, he was like a 90% free throw shooter. So I agree. I'm at the point where I think Anthony Davis is the best Laker. And if, it'll be tough. I do think it goes 7 games. And so it's all going to come down to game 7 on the road in Phoenix. And can the Lakers deliver, game 7 on the road and keep their season alive?
I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens if if AD does come back and they lose, then what?
Well, and that's the thing is that even if Anthony Davis comes back, how healthy will he be?
Right.
So
he won't be able to.
What was that?
You also have to look at the other side. How healthy is CP3 to be able to close this out?
Yeah, because he did get hit in his shoulder there at the end of Game 5 and was out of the game. Did he return from that?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, his health matters too. Dustin, did you say you agreed with Brett? Who did you have winning? You said so. Phoenix in 6 if Anthony Davis doesn't play. Do you think the Lakers win it in 7 if Anthony Davis does?
I ultimately think that the Suns are going to win this series just for the simple that I think Booker's going to have one hell of the last two games, man. And it's if AD plays and he's good, Lakers win Game 6 at the Staples Center. Game 7 is going to the Phoenix Suns.
This is huge, this series, because this changes the West a lot. Because if Phoenix wins, it opens up the West real wide open. If the Lakers win, this might be the toughest opponent the Lakers face, honestly. Because, there's no guarantee the Clippers make it to the conference finals. They beat Denver last year pretty handily, and Denver leads 3-2. Let's talk about Denver-Portland. That was a hell of a game last night. Damian Lillard is ridiculous.
I have one quick question for you, Alex.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I just want to talk about legacy for a minute. If LeBron loses in this series, does that hurt his legacy?
It has to. They were defending champs and they get knocked out in the first round. I mean, the haters are going to love it because the haters are going to say a first-round exit for LeBron. That's all they're going to say. But it matters. It absolutely. I know LeBron's getting older, but Laker fans want to repeat. They weren't talking about a first-round exit. Even when they came into this series, it being 2-7, most Laker fans were pretty confident they were going to go in there and beat the Suns in 6 or 7 games.
Yep. That's what I was just saying. Talking about my friends back home, man, they thought the same thing, and you're right.
Does it affect his legacy? It does, but LeBron's still got 4 championships. It only affects his legacy in the fact that it's another year without a championship. At this point, LeBron's thinking championship every year. He needs to be, if he wants to be the GOAT. And he needs to get to 6. 5's not going to do it. 4 is not good enough. He needs to get to 6 to be tied with, Kareem and MJ, and that's like top 3 all time. But if he doesn't get to 6, then he's 5. That's tied with Kobe and Duncan and Magic. And he's at 4 right now in the same par with Shaq. Skip me with finals appearances. Skip me with finals trips. I don't care about that. I care about championships. That's what determines legacy, not appearances, in my opinion.
That's fair. Here's one more thing I want to add to that before we move on.
Yeah.
In game 2, Schroeder was 8 of 16 with 24 points. Drummond had 12 rebounds, was 7 of 11 with 15. Anthony Davis went 7 of 15 with 34, 10 rebounds and 7 assists. LeBron had 23 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds. That is less than what he did yesterday, and the Lakers won that game by 7.
Well,
so that's my argument as to, what else do you want him to do? Because he played better in yesterday's game than he did in game 2, and they got blown out by 30. It was, that's a 37-point difference.
But Anthony Davis played, though.
Statistically,
but Drummond, they had 40 points combined, though. Yesterday, they had 4 points combined.
Statistically, he played better than last night. He did not play better optics-wise. He did not lead his team better. He didn't, there's way more to being LeBron James than statistics. You got to come out there with a fire. You got to come out there saying, we're not going down 3-2, leave it all on the line, we're going to win. There's a lot of, sometimes I feel like LeBron comes out and he's passive. And it's about setting the tone. And I don't know.
It's a mix of things. Like you said, it just depends. And you can't put it all on LeBron.
You need that from your teammates, absolutely. That's what makes your game better. But, when your teammates,
like you said, needs to be there and it's not.
I think the true test of how great a player is not how well he does when the teammates around him are playing well and the team's winning easily. It's how well he plays when the team around him isn't stepping up and he has to lead the team and set the tone and will the team back into a game and make your teammates believe that, hey, if we just give this guy something, he's going to do enough to carry us. We just have to give him something. But when they feel like, the LeBron's not playing his best game and the pressure's on us, the best player needs to take the pressure off of the role players and put all the pressure on him, right?
Agreed. And
So,
that doesn't help when you're playing 4-on-5 defense when you're down by 5 in the last 2 minutes.
exactly. And
start standing in the paint on the other side.
That can't happen. I don't care if you're James Harden or the last man on the bench. If you're not getting back on defense, I'm going to call it out, and fans are going to call it out. Go ahead, Dustin.
Especially in that point of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, I mean, you have to also think, how are his teammates going to believe in him when he walked off the court 5 minutes before the game's over? Is that going to lead into bad things for Game 6?
No, I don't think so for Game 6, but it's just bad optics. Like, the league has come to, LeBron's been doing this for so long. It's they know what to expect now. They've seen LeBron. This isn't the first time LeBron's walked off the court early. It's not the first time LeBron's not gotten back on defense. It's just disappointing as an NBA fan who grew up watching MJ and Kobe. That's all it is. I expect a lot out of NBA GOATs, NBA greats. And if I ever saw Jordan not running back on defense, that would be part of the reason I wouldn't be a fan. And we've seen Kobe do some stuff, but we've also seen, Kobe, I don't know. It's tough, but I expect more, and we'll see. Game 6 and 7, no one will be talking about Game 5 if LeBron goes out there and gets the team, wills the team to a series win. If the Lakers win the series, no one's going to talk about Game 5. So Game 6 and 7 are huge, and can the Lakers will themselves out of a first-round exit? Because it's going to be tough. We said it from the very beginning, this Suns team was going to be tough. And with the fans back, true road games now, and Chris Paul, makes that team go, and Devin Booker's damn good, and DeAndre Ayton's a damn good center, so it's going to be tough. I look forward to watching Game 6 and 7. Damian Lillard did everything he could to will Portland to a road win in Game 5, but it wasn't quite enough. The Nuggets go up 3-2. What's your thoughts on Lillard, Dustin, after that performance? I mean, that's what you kind of want to see. If a player plays the way Lillard did and they still lose, it's kind of like, well, they weren't going to win that game because he did everything in his power to win it, and they didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That performance was one of the best performances I've seen. I mean, the man literally strapped his team on his back and left everything he had on the court.
We've seen that from Lillard before. He hit the game winner to send Oklahoma City home a couple of years ago. He hit the game winner against the Rockets, the Dwight Howard, James Harden Rockets, to send them home in the first round. Lillard is a big-time shot maker and plays his best in the biggest games, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
He just keeps surprising me. Like, he is the definition of clutch.
Yeah. Those are tough shots that he hits, man.
Yeah, and he did it back to back, and then and he's done that for years in Portland, and hasn't had anybody else step up once he's made those two impossible shots at the end. It wasn't like if he missed it, that they were going to be able to foul him and play the clock or whatnot. Like you hit that shot, or you're going home, or you're losing. And
he's never mentioned in the MVP or the best player in the league. It doesn't make any sense sometimes.
Yeah, well, playing in Portland could be part of it. A bigger, bigger city, bigger, more ratings, stuff like that, more recognition. I mean, even despite that, it's like Portland's going to go down to Denver probably at 6 or 7. in my bold prediction, I mean, let's say the Lakers do win in 7, they're going to the Western Conference Finals. If they can find a way to beat Phoenix, they're going to book their name in the Western Conference Finals. That's how big these next 2 games are. I don't see Denver or Portland giving LA much of a shot at all. Phoenix is our best hope in the West, besides the Clippers.
I mean, I think Dallas maybe.
Dallas maybe. Luka's been kind of hurt the last game or 2.
If Luka and Hardaway play the way that they're capable of, they're pretty tough to beat.
Absolutely. Luka, so let's go to that one. Mavs Clippers. 2-2. The Mavs got out to a 2-0 start. Luka, in my opinion, if you don't like Luka, hashtag watch more basketball, because Luka is going to be an absolute star in this league for years to come. He plays the point guard role very well. He puts the brakes on the NBA game, slows down the tempo, and just runs his offense. And it's so hard. The Clippers are thought of as one of the better defensive teams in the league, and Dallas, they got defensive stoppers in Kawhi and PG-13 and Pat Beverly, and Luka can really slow down the game and just keep scoring on you, and very efficient. So it'll be interesting to see how Dallas does. I mean, what do we think of Dallas Clippers? Very tight Game 5 going on right now. I think the Clippers win the series, but Dallas, some people were thinking Dallas could sweep them at one point.
I mean, I didn't think that was going to necessarily happen because they did, they came out all, cylinders go. They were firing everywhere, and they did come out hot, and it slowed down a little bit. But I still think, I mean, I don't know. You still got those guys on the other side in Staples Center, the other side of LA, who it's, Kawhi Leonard, PG, they're still the Clippers. So it's going to, I don't know. I wish that this wouldn't have been a first round matchup, to be honest, between those two. Yeah, I wish it was something later on down the line. But as far as who can match up the best, I still think it's Phoenix, and then a close tie with Dallas and the Clippers.
Yeah, I think this is my crazy prediction, is that if the Lakers and Clippers can get past their super difficult first-round opponent, the second round, the semifinals, will be a cakewalk, will be easy for them. And then they'll set up a Lakers-Clippers conference finals, which is what all I've wanted for the last couple of years. Ever since Kawhi went to the Clippers, I want a Clippers-Lakers conference finals in the West. Do you agree, Dustin, that if the Lakers and Clippers can get past the first round, they're destined to meet in the conference finals?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Are you forgetting about a team over there in Utah right now?
I am. I'm not forgetting about them. I'm just completely dismissing them. Maybe I'm
Yikes.
Ooh,
how do we forget about this?
That, man? I mean, they're playing pretty damn good basketball right now.
They're not bad, but do I see them beating the Clippers or the Mavs? No, I do not.
I mean, the Clippers are letting one man destroy them in the first half right now.
I know. They got to do better than that. I'm hoping, and this is what I'm kind of thinking, if the Clippers can win 4 in a row and win this series in 6, then they'll have some momentum at the very least. But the Clippers are beatable, yes. But do I think Utah beats the Clippers? No.
And I mean, even if it's Lakers, Jazz, the Jazz have somebody who can slow down the Lakers' best player.
They do. They got some. I like Mike Conley, right?
Yes.
I like Mike Conley. I like Rudy Gobert. I like Donovan Mitchell.
Ingles
isn't bad, but the Jazz, to me, that just screams a regular season team. If you give me Jazz Dallas or Jazz Clippers, I'm taking Clippers or Dallas. And if it's Jazz Lakers, I'm taking Lakers. Now, you guys are probably right. The Jazz are better than I'm giving them credit for. But I'm just telling you, if it, I think the Clippers or Dallas goes through Utah. I do. I think so. What do you think, Brett?
You know, I'm not sure. Now that we brought up this Utah thing, I can't believe I forgot about them over there. But it's, I don't know. I think the road, man. To be honest, I think if the Clippers beat the Mavericks, then Utah beats the Clippers.
Oh, I would take that bet.
But it's just because they're more of a team. Like they remind me more of a team than opposed to like PG and Kawhi. Not saying that that's just the only players. Obviously that's not the team in LA just themselves. But I feel like Denver or Utah has that mindset of we don't care who scores, we just want that W. We don't care who gets the glory. They're not out there to shine. They're playing really good basketball, like Dustin said. Their flow, their chemistry, their charisma, everything is on point. And when you take that into the playoffs or into a series or whatever, it makes it's really hard to beat that, regardless of who you are, when that team is firing on all cylinders, and it's hard to you can't stop them. The momentum is there. They have everything going their way. But then again, that could one thing could occur that changes that. It's oh man, I have a feeling we're going to be doing a couple more of these podcasts here in the next couple of weeks.
I just had a little bit of an epiphany, and let me tell you guys this. So, as much as I'm rooting against it, if Anthony Davis comes back, the Lakers are winning that series. And yes, no, over Phoenix. And the reason I don't worry about Utah, so the best teams in the NBA are good stories, are great. They can go far. They can make the playoffs. They can go on a deep run. The NBA is not about the best teams. Okay, the NBA is about the best dudes. It's a reason that LeBron, Kawhi, Durant their teams have won the championship the last couple of years because they're the best players. The NBA playoffs is about dudes, it's about star power. It's not about the best team, in my opinion. That's why I would take the Clippers over the Jazz. Are a great team. They got team chemistry. They're the reason they're the 1 seed. They're a great regular season team. But give me the star power of the Clippers over the Jazz all day. Give me the star power of the Lakers, if healthy, over the Suns team all day. That's why I think the only 2 teams that are coming out of the West will be either the Clippers or the Lakers.
Oh, the Clippers really are not showing that right now.
Yeah, but don't sleep on the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers, yeah. But if the Clippers don't win this series over Dallas, if both the Clippers and Lakers get knocked out, I don't know who I have winning the West. But
I mean, come on, man. They have a complete team. They have the best bench in the Western Conference.
Who? Utah?
Yeah.
They do. I just don't trust them. They got to prove it to me. So, I mean, I'll bet against them. So, if it's Dallas, Utah, I'm going Dallas. If it's Clippers, Utah, I'm going Clippers. That's just my take. I could be wrong, but it's the same reason. I know you guys might push back on this. Bucks Nets is going to be a great series out east. Man, Nets all day, bro.
Oh yeah.
Nets all day. It's about star power. You're not stopping. Go ahead and put the Nets. Go ahead and crown the Nets right now. The Nets are taking the championship this year.
I agree. The scary hours are upon us.
So the Bucks and Nets should be a good series, should be a good battle. I know, Dustin, you like Milwaukee. If Giannis can take the next step, Giannis can be the best player in basketball. He can win a championship. He can really change his career. But until he does that, Give me the star power of the Nets, man.
I think
That's one of the greatest big threes we've ever seen, and they're
Yeah.
average. All three of them are averaging between 80 and 90 combined points with just three players. Imagine what your bench players, come in and score 7 to 10. I mean, it's unbelievable.
yeah,
The
the
Nets,
Lakers wish they had that.
well, LeBron definitely wishes he had it.
They score 90
they,
points. They score more points than the whole Lakers team with those
well,
three.
so a lot of people on my Facebook and my Twitter saying, "Oh, the Nets are bad for the NBA. All they're doing is creating a super team to beat LeBron and the Lakers." These motherfuckers must have the shortest memory of all time. Do you remember the Lakers heavily recruiting Kawhi just the 2019 offseason? The Lakers were trying so hard to get Kawhi to go with Anthony Davis and LeBron. That big three would have been ridiculous.
Still not
Yeah.
better than Brooklyn.
Huh?
Still not better than Brooklyn.
Well,
I don't know.
that would be a hell of a finals, I'll tell you what. But Brooklyn, in my opinion, Durant's just doing what LeBron wants to do. He's just doing it better than him. Golden State was one of the best things we'd seen in forever and beat LeBron. And the Nets are the best. The Nets are a better offensive team, a more scary offensive team than that KD Golden State Warriors team was.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, because James Harden, who easily could average 30, Kyrie Irving, who could easily average 30, Kevin
Right?
Durant could easily average 30. I mean,
Yep. As long as Brooklyn remembers that Durant is the number one option and to give him the most touches, keep him happy, and Harden and Kyrie do their thing in the background as a number two, that team's not losing the series.
not to
Go ahead.
not to mention Joe Harris comes in.
Exactly.
Blake
Joe
Griffin
Harris off
comes
the
in
bench.
scores.
Joe Harris, Blake Griffin's. When Blake Griffin's your fourth or fifth option, you got a pretty good team going.
Yeah. And they built around what they thought was going to be in LA, and whether it was there in LA or not, they still, I feel like, had the upper hand, and even more so now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Today's current NBA is all about the dudes, and so you put together a great team on paper, they're usually going to win. And that's why, I was happy when the Nets put together this team because it's like, well, that's a team right there that can beat the Lakers. Before it was like maybe the Clippers. When I saw the Nets put that together, I was like, oh, they're beating the Lakers. Yeah, right there.
And when you mentioned LeBron's kind of getting a taste of his own medicine with Brooklyn putting together that team.
Well, with Golden State first and now Brooklyn, yes, he is. And he doesn't like it. His fans don't like it. But it's the exact same thing. Anyone that's going to try and push back and say LeBron didn't build a super team in Miami that was just as bad as this is just biased and a LeBron fan. Would you agree with that, Brett? The original super team of recent history was the Miami Heat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people say Boston, but Boston was all past their prime. KG was older. Ray Allen was older. Paul Pierce was older. The Heat were all in their prime, just like this Nets team.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to. Man, you're right. The big three there was something that started, not necessarily started it, because it did kind of go back to the Spurs before that, then the Celtics, and then the Heat, and now it just seems to be occurring all over the country.
Yeah.
And what you got to do, it puts you at the next level. There's some teams that don't have a single superstar, and they're sitting at home right now. There's a reason for that. So,
Yeah.
But the Spurs were developed into a super team. Like
that's true.
They were
drafted. They were drafted by a genius, Greg Popovich. He
Absolutely.
drafted Duncan,
They didn't build
Ginobili,
that.
Parker, Kawhi. Yeah.
They built it in a different way, I should say.
Yes, that I have no hate. I have all the respect in the world for drafting and grooming a super team through just skill in the draft. But if you do it through free agency, the way the Heat did it, or the way the Nets did it, or the way the Warriors did it, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But it doesn't matter because you can have a bad taste all you want. That team's going to be crowned champions in June, or in this case, like July or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you think of Atlanta knocks out the Knicks? That pisses me off because I was a big Knicks fan. Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, Thibodeau. Julius Randle really got exposed in this series. Do you guys see some of those Knicks-Hawks series?
A little bit.
Yeah. I seen Trae Young be Steph Curry 2.0.
Yeah. It frustrated me because ideally the Knicks should have forced Trae Young to give up the ball. They should have forced his hand defensively and made somebody else beat them. But Thibodeau didn't want to double team. He wants to play straight up defense. And Trae Young kind of hurt him. And at the end of the day, the Hawks are just a more talented team in my opinion. What was that?
Yeah, I definitely agree that they were the most talented team. And the Hawks could be dangerous.
They could be, especially the thing to watch with Philly is Embiid's injury.
Yeah.
That's gonna be something to keep an eye on. If healthy, the Sixers will go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I still think they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, even if Embiid's hurt. But it'll be tougher against Atlanta. Health is always going to come into play.
Yeah. So you're saying this is pretty much an easy road for Brooklyn, right?
It's not an easy road. This Milwaukee series is going to be tough, and depending on health, Philly can be tough. Those are 6 or 7 game series. But I got Brooklyn winning in the end. Too much firepower, too much star power, too hard to handle. I think at the end of the day, Brooklyn comes out of the East, but it's not going to be easy, no. It'll be harder than Boston was.
If they lose, does it hurt any one of their careers? Like, does it hurt Harden, Kyrie, or KD?
Absolutely. It hurts all their legacies. You can't build a super team like this and then not win the championship.
And what happens to your legacy, his legacy, if they don't?
To KD?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, Durant, his biggest thing is if he had gone to Golden State and they didn't win. But they did. And he won Finals MVP both times. In my opinion, Durant's the best player in basketball right now and has been for a few years. The injury knocked him out of it, and Kawhi took advantage of that. And then LeBron took advantage last year. But would you guys push back on that? I think Durant's been the best player in the league for a while now, when healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that he is, and I think that it's showing somewhat. I mean, obviously, he has a lot of help there.
He is, absolutely.
But he's taking, he's doing what is expected of him. Yeah. And it seems like there's questions here where LeBron is not doing that.
Yeah.
You got even questioned it yourself a little bit. So, saying, should LeBron do more? We're not saying should KD do more. Should KD do more? And it's, obviously there's a huge difference there talent-wise on the roster, but and what they have, at least, from the starting 5 or the top 3, whatever you want to say, their ability to just score at will. But I mean, I don't know. I think it would be crazy to see if somehow the Lakers come back and they do end up meeting Brooklyn in the finals. And
that'd be a hell of a story.
It would be. That'd be a movie in 20, 30 years.
If LeBron and the Lakers dig out of this hole against Phoenix, come out of the West, and beat the Nets in the finals, then LeBron fans are going to be insufferable. and the GOAT talk is only going to rise because that'll be his 5th championship, and it'll be ridiculous. But is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. I'm pretty confident in that. I think there's a pretty good chance the Lakers still win this series over Phoenix, especially if Anthony Davis comes back and is anywhere close to 100%. I think they'll get through that. Then I think the Lakers beat Denver or Portland in 5 or 6. And then all I'm hoping for is a Lakers-Clippers conference finals in the West. And that's a pick 'em. That's a 7-game series, I think. I think that's a great matchup. I would sign up for that any day.
For the Lakers, it's all going to come down to what Street Clothes does.
What is that?
I said for the Lakers, it's all going to matter, or it's all going to come down to if Street Clothes is healthy.
Yep, Street Clothes Anthony Davis, as Charles Barkley called him.
That shit was funny.
But I mean, it's going to come down. I mean, that's what I said going into the playoffs. It's going to come down to health. On paper, it should be Lakers Nets in the finals, but it comes down to health. If any of the Brooklyn Big Three gets hurt, they're beatable. If LeBron or AD get hurt, they're beatable. And if Kawhi or Paul George get hurt, they're beatable. So, and like we're seeing with Philly, Embiid's already hurt. That's why Philly's looking beatable.
I mean, what can we say that about Brooklyn?
What's that?
Can we say that Brooklyn looks beatable in any way by anybody?
Not when fully healthy, no. If injured, yes, they're beatable by Milwaukee, they're beatable by Philly. But I don't like their chances of losing when 100% healthy.
Yeah, no, I think that's where we stand here with all this. We're talking about who's going to come out in the West, and what could possibly happen here in the East. And if the Nets are healthy, it doesn't matter. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, so right now the Mavs with a 2-point lead on the Clippers at halftime. Who do you guys think wins that series, Clippers or Dallas?
Clippers.
Clippers are with Brett?
I think Dallas.
Dallas, wow.
Just because I want them to win. I honestly feel like Clippers probably will. But at the same time, because they don't want to be, they would love to see the Lakers get bounced and make it to the next round. That would be huge for their morale and everything going forward. If they get bounced in the first round, I don't know if that team's going to stay intact.
Well, so, I mean, exactly. There's a lot of legacy impact on the line every playoff. So let's say the Clippers, or let's say Dallas does find a way to upset the Clippers and win that series. There's a scenario if Luka's healthy and playing his best. I mean, the way they looked the first 2 games of that series, I could see them going to the conference finals and maybe even the NBA finals.
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't leave it out or rule it out as a possibility.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that could happen. I just don't. This Clippers team, I just don't think that they play as much as a team, all around that some of these other teams play.
You're right on that. That's why they lost last year to Denver, is because they're not as good as they should be for whatever reason. Some pointed to off-the-court distractions. Some pointed to Doc Rivers being the reason. I've never been a Paul George fan in the playoffs. Like, he's lost me recently with playoff Paul George. Kawhi needs to step up his game. If Paul George isn't going to get it done, Kawhi needs to step up his game. If the Clippers lose tonight, they're in trouble. If they go down 3-2, I could see them losing the series. They need to win tonight, and they need to win it in 6. They don't want to be down, because if they feel the pressure that they felt last year to Denver after blowing that lead, they could easily feel the pressure and blow it again. So the Clippers need to find a way to win tonight.
I think you're right, and I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, they're in a tough game, so I'm looking forward to watching the second half of that after we're done here.
Yeah. Sorry to have to do this, guys, but I gotta hop off.
All right, sounds good. I mean, that's about good right there. We've covered it all. I look forward, we'll jump in here for the second round in conference finals. But good shit, guys. Fun talking basketball. Go Clippers.
Go Mavericks.
Go Suns the rest of the way in that series.
Go anybody but the Lakers.
Anybody but the Lakers. So, all right. Appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks for the support, fans. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Have a great week, guys. Peace out.